Alrighty, welcome back to another video. It is finally time for Soul Exchange, and I believe with the Soul Exchange list already spoiled like a couple of weeks ago, I believe everyone has had some time to review, had time to look at most of the reviews by the rest of my fellow content creators who have worked effortlessly. Oh my god, I can't speak today. Who have worked tirelessly actually to come up with these videos. Did I just say effortlessly? That sounded so wrong. I don't know why, but yeah. So shout out to the rest of my content creators. I can't like I can't even come up with like videos beforehand, and the metal and effort that they do then have to um, provide those videos before the event actually starts is simply amazing. So shout out to all the content creators who have came up with these videos before that, basically providing reviews and hero testings for the Soul Exchange list, which has been spoiled. So anyways, let's have a look at it. This is my particular take on the Soul Exchange, and well, as you can see, there's a plethora of kind of like new and at the same time dated heroes that are available for you in the market. So let's have a look at some of them. So for anybody who's like, if this is your first time doing the Soul Exchange, basically what it basically needs to work is you have a bunch of heroes that you're supposed to trade in order for you to get one of these heroes. And you can see from the lines that each line requires a certain amount of heroes that are required before you can unlock them, and you only can pick one. So and it has to be legendary heroes, by the way, so 5-star heroes. So if you have 10, 15 or 20 of these legendary heroes lying around in your roster doing absolutely nothing, well, this is your chance to use them to exchange for a better hero compared to those unused legendary heroes. Now, from my point of view, I've been participating in every single Soul Exchange there is so far, and I gotta say, most of my picks from the Soul Exchange has definitely have definitely been utilized at some point of time in my roster. Now, some of them are definitely dated, because this has been going on for quite some time. I believe it's every 3 months. So this is, I believe, the 13th time or the 14th time. I can't remember. Or is it more, probably? So it's been going along for quite some time. So naturally, heroes that you pick will be dated. And every Soul Exchange you're trying to just pick the hero that best complements your roster, that shouldn't be the latest heroes. Like let's face it, the Soul Exchange will not have the latest heroes, but they will have heroes that can potentially complement the roster that you have existingly. So let's look at some of the heroes here. Now, usually I would go through each and every one of them. I'll probably would, but I'll talk about some of the standouts for me here. And I think one of the first standouts is Phantom of the Opera. Part of the Opera family, so in it by itself, it's probably quite an interesting family to consider. These family either gives a dance or a ballad. So dance to yourself, to your allies, or ballad to the opposing side. And I believe Phantom of the Opera was one of the first opera families to be released together with Odette. I want to say, yes, Odette, the blue paladin opera family. And at the point of time when Phantom of the Opera was released, there were not that many use cases for him. Now, I did find a use case for Phantom of the Opera before this, and it was against Gurik. But unfortunately, Gurik was a cleric. So if you see his Ballad of Obsession, it gives a negative 40% mana generation. Clerics can resist negative mana generation, which means the dance might not trigger against Gurik. So that was, it wasn't a guarantee that it could remove the buffs from Gurik, because at that time Gurik had the undispellable Slime Revive, and one of the ways to actually get rid of the Undispellable Slime Revive was to use Phantom of the Opera, either using some sort of ballad or basically something that can remove undispellable effects. And I think ballad was one of the easier, more accessible ways to use it. That being said, negative mana generation often becomes some sort of a tempo. It provides a lot of tempo for you to use on offense, especially if you want to stop certain heroes on defense from firing too fast. So that was one of the ways that you can use mana generation here. And I believe Phantom of the Opera still has some one of the I think Phantom of the Opera still can see some form of usage utility here, even though he's a slightly dated hero, 1274 with current heroes about 1006. I think you still can use this in sort of like a mid-range team. You can use Phantom of the Opera as a control unit, and then you followed it up with a very big hit, something like what's the latest purples that hit really hard? You can use Aramis to kind of protect yourself, and you can use some of the other new purple heroes to kind of deal the necessary damage. So I think Phantom of the Opera is pretty okay here. Then there's Ojima, backwards of Amigo, in case anyone didn't notice. Now, Ojima in its prime was really, really strong. He came out during the minion meta, and I mean, this was before the costume Diao-chans and the costume Wall the Three Kingdoms. So he was really good at controlling minions at that point of time. Now, there are not many minion heroes this time around. I think a lot of people are not a fan of the new construct minions. I have no idea why, because I think the construct hero minions are actually really, really strong. But yeah, I think at this point, Ojima is almost a relic. Like, you're going to need a costume for Ojima to actually make him a bit more usable in the current state of things, and the stats is just not going to help him at all. So it'll be hard for you to justify. Remember that you're getting the soul exchange heroes. You have to level up the soul exchange heroes. You have to spend ethers. You got to spend your ascension materials. You got to spend limit break materials in order to get him up, and it's very hard to justify using alpha ethers to get Ojima to this state. So most of the time you'll probably be stuck at like single limit breaking him, which will reduce his power even lower, which means his stats will be much lower. So I find it really hard to recommend Ojima, because more often than not, if you're using him as a control unit to kind of deal with minions, first of all, there are not that many minions in the meta right now, and at the same time, the stats is probably too low, unless they did, spoil some form of like hint something that there will be costumes for the older bards. I don't think this is worth getting, even though his ability is pretty niche. There are just not many minion heroes right now, and the ones that are relevant in the meta, so-called, the War of the Three Kingdom costumes, they negate minion destruction, and at the same time, a lot of these construct heroes, the construct hero minions, not many people are using it, so it's not really something that you would want to use. And there's also a chance for the Fox minions. The Fox minions like Sable, Riverfang, I believe Whitefang, and there are some. I believe there's a purple Fox who's usually on defenses. Yeah, those minions have a chance to dodge anyway. So you're not going to get, you're not going to be able to use Ojima too effectively, and because of that, I probably won't be recommending him too much. Eliane, I'm just going to skip over Eliane. Now, she's a Hero of the Month from the 2025, which means her stats is, I believe, one of the newest stats compared to all the other heroes that are available on Soul Exchange. But I believe as a Hero of the Month, you had 30 days to kind of like do random pulls and hopefully get Eliane. Now, if you didn't, I like that she deals damage to all enemies. I like that they get burn damage all the time. And I do believe you can find a way to kind of chain Eliane to fire almost continuously. I'm just not convinced that you would want to pick, you would want to sacrifice 10 heroes to get a hero of the month. Even though she is actually pretty decent. I like that she dispels buffs, I guess. So there is an option there. So I guess if you're okay with it, then sure, you could find a way to use Ellie. And I personally will not recommend choosing a hero of the month for exchanging, for soul exchange. So definitely not very high on my list. Lysanor came out, I believe one of the, let me try and remember this. Lysanor came out, I believe, the same time as like some of the I don't think she came out the same time as Bernadette. Let me just check. Bernadette, where is Bernadette? Is Bernadette a stag? I don't believe she's a stag, but I believe she came out about the same time. Because it's the same, yeah. So he came out around the same time, if I'm not mistaken. So one of the more interesting revivers with one of the highest revive chances, and once they revive, they get the wording arrangement here is probably the best you'll ever get from a reviver. A chance to revive first. So when you revive, you immediately get the rest of the buffs from Lysanor, and I believe that was what made her actually quite useful at the time, along with this 5% mana when they receive a buff or a positive stack. Now, I am not really a fan of slow revivers outside of Rush. There are currently better revivers out there. You look at Astrid, you look at Sable, you look at Chitrangada. These are the revivers that are currently, what people are using. But that being said, if you need a reviver for Rush Wars, especially if you think Madanov or Albric are sort of like, not up to your so-called standards, and if you're running too many greens on your defense already, then you can consider Lysanor. Monk is a good class. You can resist a few things, and the wording arrangement is correct. So I believe Lysanor is still pretty okay. Not someone I would recommend, because right now revivers, everyone would want to use Astrid. So if you have Astrid, you don't need Lysanor. Now if you don't have Astrid, Chitrangada or Sable, I think Lysanor will be okay. But it's not really high on top of my recommended list, just because there are other better heroes, I would say, in the Soul Exchange. But it's still a decent pick, I would say. The next one is Nogu. Nogu's family, it just came out at like the wrong time. I think the only one that was worth it was like Satori, or there was I can't remember the name. There was a blue one that was really good, and then Lazara as well as a yellow. Let me see if there's Satori here, and no one else. Nogu was interesting because he's a hit tree that was fast speed, and nobody usually cares about the last point here, where they convert the boosted health they gain to max health reduction. But if you remember, right now in the current meta, against heroes like Freyawaru, against heroes like Fungustine, because Fungustine is trying to come back into the meta, these are quite good health boosters. So you can consider Nogu as part of the utility that you would use against heroes like that. Now, that's not to say that's all very common. I believe percentage health healers are still much more in demand compared to health boosters, just because of the higher amount of heal that they are providing. But his damage is still pretty decent. I wouldn't say it's completely outdated. But yeah, I don't know. Funnily enough, I think Nogu is one of the heroes that I was thinking about to pair with Sun or Niang, just because you can get the bleed damage on, and then you use Sun or Niang's bleed to kind of override his bleed, which is why I didn't talk so much about his bleed here. So very interesting hero. Not again, out of the 10 hero list here, the only one I would seriously recommend would be Phantom of the Opera, just because he has a bit more utility, and it's a bit more evergreen. It's a utility that you can use to prevent, either as a reactive, a preemptive prevention for buffs to happen if you can fire Phantom first, or as a buff remover as long as they don't have ailment immunity. So I think Phantom, out of the 10, I think Phantom is the only one that I would seriously recommend. So let's move to the 15 heroes. This one has a bit more interesting heroes. Karta came out after, I believe, Nautica. And everybody thought that, once Nautica, they found a way to counter Nautica by bringing out the owls, which reduced Nautica's mana generation. Everyone thought that Karta was going to be the next big thing. Now, unfortunately, didn't really seem too appealing. 45% health for all allies is pretty decent. Lifts the latest cleansable status ailment from all allies and randomly distributes them on enemies. I guess it's fine. It's something like a Lady Loki. And then all allies get plus 33% mana generation for 3 turns. The problem with this compared to Nautica is that Nautica gives you instant mana, an instant mana boost, which means you don't have to rely on tiles. Whereas with Karta, if let's say you're using Karta to kind of facilitate using heroes from other colors, you still need to get the tiles from the other colors in order to make it work. Now, the only good thing I could say here is that Karta is definitely strong against silencers, against Ceres, against Songjiang, just because she has immunity to silence, and she can go off regardless whether or not they have fired. And then you can lift all the lift the silence from Ceres. Unfortunately, not from Songjiang. You only get to lift the defense down from Songjiang to distribute to the enemies. Remember, this is the latest cleansable status ailment only. So that means in order, Songjiang gives silence and then defense down. So for Karta, it will only remove the defense down. For Ceres' last line is the silence. So therefore, you're lifting the silence ailment from your allies. It's still a decent healer. I would say healers are usually, you can usually play around with healers that have slightly dated stats, just because you're not reliant on damage from them, you're just relying on the heal. And usually the health gain, 45% health, is actually pretty decent altogether. So still a very good hero, I would say, just not to the level of like Nautica or some of the better healers right now in the game. So next one is Alvar. The same thing, but slightly better than Karta. Lifts all cleansable status ailments from allies. The duration of status ailments is reset for all enemies. We see this in Magiri as well. Deals 350% damage to all enemies, and then all enemies reflect status effect buffs to a random character on the opposing team for 4 turns. Right now, it's interesting that we talked about Karta being useful against Songjiang and Ceres. Alva is actually pretty okay against Songjiang and Ceres if you have the Monk primary legendary troop. If you're using the Monk primary legendary troop with Alva, there is a chance that you resist the silence, and then you can use Alva to lift the silence off from your allies and put it onto the enemy, which is actually pretty good. So and I believe before they fixed it, Alva was a key component to the Mythic Titan damage loop with Isidore and I want to say Araminta and some others. Can't remember who he was. He was an Insanity hero. So Hunter, Fungustine, Isidores, Araminta and Alva. I think that was the combination that people were using. So yeah, definitely something to consider. I would say damage wise, still pretty okay, still pretty relevant. Just depends on how you want to emblem him, whether you're emblemming him for attack, if you want to make use of his 350% damage, or if you want to just rely on him staying alive so that you can lift all the status ailments from your allies, give it to the enemy, and make sure that whatever buffs they get for the next 4 turns, you get the buffs instead. So actually a pretty I would say a pretty decent hero as well. Next we have Sparklight, which is the Astral Elves. Sparklight, I would say, it's still pretty okay to use for wars, but I think a lot of people are using Sparklight for challenge events because he actually hits tree pretty hard for challenge events. So, but that being said, the utility that Sparklight provides is actually still pretty decent. Deals a decent amount of damage, puts a burn that heals casters, the caster and all allies, and then they reflect status effect buffs to a random character as well, which is also pretty decent. Also, he's a fighter, so he has a chance to revive. So I think Sparklight is pretty okay. If you're looking for someone to improve your challenge event teams, then Sparklight is definitely something to consider. And if you need some form of high damage, well, I would say high, not very high, but high damage for your war teams, then Sparklight is definitely one to consider as well. The good thing is he also is immune to poison, which I believe there are quite a few heroes out there right now who deal poison damage, so that's actually pretty okay. Satori. When Satori first came out, everybody thought he was going to be the next tank. He went on for like 2-3 wars with Satori tank, and then immediately people found out that all you had to do was just stick a taunt there, and Satori was immediately useless. That being said, Satori is very interesting. If you're going against a lot of heroes that cleanse or dispel, he actually deals a big load of damage. So at that point of time, a lot of the healers that people were using a lot of healers with cleanse. Oh, those healers were getting destroyed. And you can also keep your allies alive as well. The one good thing about him is, I believe there was one of his passives here. Where was his passive? I thought there was a passive here. I can't remember whether it was him. I don't remember. I don't remember if it was him or someone else. There is it. Okay, I'm blind. The caster and nearby allies have a 55% chance to drop any received damage to 1 for 4 turns. So that's like the Knight's Endurance from Black Knight. And if this effect is dispelled, if somehow you have a dispeller that's still alive after Satori has hit, if this effect is dispelled, it dispels buffs from all enemies, which means you can just, whatever defensive buffs that they have or whatever buffs that are keeping, that are supporting the enemy, if you remove this effect, they actually dispel the rest of the buffs. So that was actually pretty annoying, and it's something hidden that most people don't realize. So that's something that you can use to your advantage as well. So I think that's pretty cool. It's one of the new cooler effects that I've seen on a hero. Definitely something to consider, but because of his stats, I don't know whether he's still relevant in the current meta. I've never seen him after his short stint when he was first introduced. But I do believe some people still have fun and are using him quite well in wars as well. So there's something to consider. The last one is Daroga, which I think is one of the better ones in this line of 15. Again, Opera family, but the good thing I like about him is not his snipe damage, it's actually the bleed damage that can spread, and the fact that he has a stack that gives all allies plus 25% attack that stacks for 10 times. So you can use this for Titans, for Mythic Titans, especially against the blue Mythic Titan, where defense ailments are negated from the Mythic Titan. You can use Daroga to increase the total attack power of your team in order for you to deal additional damage, paired with like crit or paired with something like France, which increases the amount of damage taken from the Titan, which is not a defense ailment. So Daroga is pretty interesting. I have Daroga and I've used him pretty well in the past. Now, notably, of course, again, slightly dated stats, but it's only slightly. I think he still can be used to very good effect in war, especially the bleed spread is actually pretty awesome. Now, just make sure that you're not using Garrison Guard heroes that have the Sword Mega Minion that deals bleed damage as well, because they will override this bleed effect, and you actually want Daroga's bleed effect more than the Garrison Guard minion bleed effect, because this one is much higher. So if you can find a way to refresh his bleed damage from Daroga, that would be pretty awesome. And I believe Sun and Yang does that. The only problem is Sun and Yang resets ailments, but it also gives a bleed damage as well, so that's a problem there. So I think Daroga is pretty awesome. Definitely worth a shot to consider out of this 15, and I think it's also the one that I would highly recommend because of the stack. The stack is actually quite evergreen, so you can use Daroga for sure. If not as a main damage component, it's more of a utility in the future. So for me, 15 out of the 15, I would rank Daroga first. Second would be Karta, and then third would be Sparklight, fourth Alva, and fifth Satori. All actually, to be fair, this Soul Exchange, the 15 hero slot, is actually pretty decent. And if you only have 15, you won't be disappointed with any of the picks here. So that's definitely something to consider. Okay, now we reach the 20 heroes, and I think it's one of the best lineups that we can choose from. Number 1, Dark Feather, a perfect hero to use on almost any occasion. Some challenge events, some tower events, some Mythic Titan utility, even war utility as well. I think Dark Feather is, it goes without saying, Dark Feather is one of the best heroes to pick from this Soul Exchange, and is my top pick for this whole Soul Exchange. If you have 20 heroes, and if you don't have Dark Feather, or if you're looking for a duplicate Dark Feather to use for Mythic Titans, I would definitely pick Dark Feather. It's reasonable health recovery, gives growth to all allies, and then all allies have 50% chance to deal 270% damage, which scales with the growth. So it in itself, Dark Feather is actually pretty interesting, pretty good hero. His Goblin family passive is actually pretty relevant against health boosters. So I don't think that's too much to say. Dark Feather is pretty relevant right now in the meta, and I'll definitely pick Dark Feather, if you don't have him. Second, Lemonwood. Lemonwood was a menace in the Lemonwood meta, which is just pretty recent. The good thing about Lemonwood was when Sludges came out, Lemonwood could ensure that he was never taking damage from the dodge effect from Sludges, just because the special skill never misses. The best part about him is that he can always be chained, and it doesn't matter whether you're going against heroes that have mana reduction immunity, because if the character has mana reduction immunity, it's guaranteed to hit that particular target over and over and over again until his damage actually drops down to 0. So Lemonwood is a very, very, very good option. I would say much better option than Mania. I think the only reason why you would pick Mania over Lemonwood is because you want this a Gargoyle soft skin, but it's only on himself, which sucks. You would want to use Garten, for soft skin distribution to your allies. So yeah, in these 20 heroes required, if you don't have Lemonwood, I think Lemonwood is a very, very, very good option here, especially if you're facing difficulty controlling the board against a defense that relies a lot on their mana, and you can use Lemonwood to kind of control the mana, make sure that you are able to fire first before the opponent. So definitely worth considering and worth picking. The third one, Daemon. I don't really rate Daemon too highly, but that's because I think I've been underestimating Daemon as well. Very fast speed, so 6 red tiles, which is 2 normal red matches, gives you the ability to completely stop Bernadette for 3 turns. So that's actually really, really strong, all things considered. And if you're having problems creating counter teams to Bernadette, or to actually any hero, in fact, if Gurik was still in the meta, Daemon is actually pretty strong against Gurik, very, very strong against Bernadette, and you can even use Daemon for rush as well. It's actually pretty good. So if you're having trouble building up counter teams against heroes that rely on skill activation to become a problem to your offense team, then you can definitely use Daemon here. Daemon is one of the fastest ways to counter heroes like that. So definitely would consider Daemon to be part of the answer and part of the missing piece that you require in order to have a good team to kind of counter heroes like Bernadette, heroes like Gurik, heroes like if you're having trouble against Dulafur for some reason, yeah, Daemon is one of the best options here. And you're not going to use Daemon for the main damage primarily. You're just using him for the utility. Blocking talent skill activation, blocking any effects that will trigger onto your allies or even their enemies, that's actually pretty good. So definitely, I would say definitely a strong pick here for Soul Exchange as well. Hetaferes, I did a solo war one time where I went against a Hetaferes costume tank, and it was very, very difficult to deal against, especially because whenever she heals a lot. First of all, she heals a huge amount, 54%, and then you get negative 45% accuracy as well. That is amazing if you're going against unprepared opponents. So definitely something to consider here. I wouldn't say she's top of the picks, but definitely something that will catch people unawares if you're using Hetaferes in abundance, or if you're using Hetaferes as a good healer for your team. I would definitely consider Hetaferes to be picked as well. Relevant stats, completely relevant stats. 1593 is actually really high, and yeah, it just helps you survive against a lot of the things that are going on right now, and especially one of the most annoying things, Teffer right now is very dominant in the meta. So having increased defense against nature actually helps against Teffer. So that's always something to consider. And there's a lot of nature heroes right now in the meta. You have Fafnir, you have Teffer, you have Sun Ernyang, and if you're having trouble against the new Bongar as well, that's always something to consider. So Hetaferes is no joke. And if you're trying to tank Hetaferes, just remember that if they can't get their tiles, if they are stacking green against you and they can't get their tiles, imagine if Hetaferes goes off. Their nature hero, you literally need to bring a Dispeller in order to counter Hetaferes. So this is definitely one of the better picks. Menya, I went through with it. If you don't have Lemonwood, I don't see why you would pick Menya over Lemonwood. I think Lemonwood is a much better option. And Mania just feels like it's... I just wish they made this deals 390% an even distribution against all enemies, rather than 390% damage to a target and then minor damage to nearby. Minor damage means half of the damage. So yeah, I think Mania has seen its glory days and is now out of the meta, so I wouldn't ever consider Mania right now over Lemonwood, especially if you are looking to build a team. Double Lemonwood is definitely better than Lemonwood and Menya together in a team. So yeah, I wouldn't consider. So ultimately, first pick Darkfeather, second pick Daemon, third pick Hetaferes, fourth pick Lemonwood. Just because I think Hetaferes is a bit more relevant in the meta, especially against Teffer, and against a lot of the new nature heroes. So if I look at it on overall, I think number one pick is still Darkfeather. Second pick would be Daemon. Third pick, I would go with Daroga. Fourth pick, Hetaferes. Fifth pick, Lemonwood. Sixth pick, Karta. And the seventh pick, Phantom of the Opera. So I hope that helps with making a decision. Now, again, remember, everybody's roster is different. So my roster will definitely be different than yours. And you got to pick the heroes that are that will help shape your roster to be much better than what it is right now. Remember that Soul Exchange is not about picking the heroes that have the highest amount of damage output, but it's more towards complementing what you have on your roster. If you're looking for a purple hero that can help you, keep up with the current stats, Obviously, I think Dark Feather will be a good one with the growth. If you're looking for more control, you can pick Lemonwood, you can pick Damon. And if you're just looking to have a fun tank, I'll recommend Hetaphoris any time of the day. So remember, look at your roster, decide what you want, and then just have fun. Remember, there are many other content creators out there who are creating videos in order to give you an idea of what you can pick, but no one will be forcing you to pick anything. You have to make the decision yourself. You have to decide which hero will best suit your roster. So for me, if you ask me personally what I'm going to do, I am going to pick my second Dark Feather, because I want to use Dark Feather consistently in Mythic Titans. I want to improve my Mythic Titan war hits, which is what I'm going to go for. Just putting a Fergus there because I'm never going to level Fergus at all. Let's see. Screw team, yes. Sure. Here we go. I still need a bit more. Let's see. I have too many of that. Then look at here. Let me just trade off a Hetaphoris for fun. Nah, it's okay. Let me trade off my season 1 heroes. Okay, I can. It's your lucky day. It's your lucky day, Fergus. I won't be sending you to the airlock, same as you, Timius. I will pick someone at the bottom here. Sarnia and Poseidon. Alright, and I'll be picking Dark Feather. I have no intentions of leveling Damon, especially since I have much better rates, which is why I don't need Damon. I may live to regret it, but I am performing decently against 6 Bernadette tanks, so I don't need another Damon. I definitely would want Dark Feather to use for Mythic Titans, which is where I'm planning to improve my roster. And I noticed that the last 2 to 3 Soul Exchanges have been all about improving my Mythic Titan hits, and well, questionable if I've actually improved them, but we'll see what we can do for the next time. But in this case, I'm gonna go with Dark Feather, and I hope you guys make an informed decision and informed to make sure that you pick the right hero for your roster. And I hope you guys make the best out of this Soul Exchange, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. GG.